Bro, I was terrible. I was a big kid, so I had to play like 2 or 3 years up. I was hiding in the back of the line in the Oklahoma drills.
It's hard to believe it.
Like you said, one day it just clicked. Like
Right.
8th grade, I remember I just like grabbed the kid by the jersey, threw him on the ground. I was like, oh man, like this
Like,
this is this all I gotta do?
right.
Welcome to another episode of Third and Long. Have a great episode planned for you guys. Special guest today joining us this week. He's a first-round pick out of the University of Florida. Also, he's in the Jags Ring of Honor. And we're going to speak this into existence. He is going to be an NFL Hall of Famer very soon. If you're a Jags fan, he's probably one of your favorite players of all time, and that's Fred Taylor.
What's up, man? Appreciate you having me, bro. And we will continue to try and speak it into existence. You know,
For sure.
God's timing is the best. So whenever He's ready, I'm on standby, man. But I appreciate you having me.
No, I appreciate you joining the show, and this has been a long time coming. When I came to the Jags, I was like, man, I got to get Fred on the show one day. So I'm happy that we we finally got to get it done. And like you said, God's timing is always the right timing.
Right.
And so I appreciate you joining the show, and I know the fans are going to be looking forward to this conversation. And yeah, man, I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, both on the football field and also what you've done post your playing career and everything that you stand for. And so I'm glad that you were able to get on the show.
No, I appreciate those words. Like I said, I appreciate you having me, man. And any Jaguar fans that are out there, any fans of football out there, this the reason we do these podcasts, and where they can hear from the players, the former players firsthand, hear things directly from their mouths. And the blessing that we have nowadays is that we're able to control our own narrative or correct certain narratives when the media sort of tries to bend it in a certain direction. And, when I was a player, Arik, I said I never wanted to be part of the media. Well, here I am. Much like
Here you are.
all players, we're some part of the media in some capacity. But I'm Duval to the death of me, man. So I'm pretty sure that all of the Jaguar fans are stoked about this having two of their own, two that they can call their own, be able to sit down and chop it up, and just have a good time, man. So again, I appreciate you for circling back to get me on.
No, that's awesome. And you're not just a part of the media. You're one of the most successful members of the media and everything that you guys have accomplished with the Pivot podcast. So, yeah, man, I appreciate you. So let's get it going.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna go back a little bit. You're truly are a Florida boy. Born and raised in Florida in
Yep.
Pahokee. And AKA Muck City.
Yeah, you better know it.
And so the legend is that you guys grew up chasing rabbits, and
Right.
and I've heard this story, since I was a kid, and all the NFL players that have come from that area. You guys have, man, produced a number of NFL players, and that was the legend that you guys grew up chasing rabbits, and that's how you guys got athletic and fast and agile. So is that legend true? Is that something that you guys did in that area?
Yeah, it's definitely a legend first and foremost, but it keeps everybody curious, keeps them guessing. They wonder where we get our speed from and our athletic ability, and it's fun to kind of go along with it all. But
Yeah.
I can tell you, we do work hard.
Hmm.
It's not given. You can't
Hmm.
just go out there, run after a rabbit, and somehow find your way to the NFL. It doesn't work like that. But I can tell you, people in the area, it's a very impoverished area, right? And
Hmm.
you know the demographics show that the average income is under the poverty line for the most part. So
Hmm.
there many times you would find people out in the fields, like basically hunting. rabbit is a form of food for a lot. It's also a form of, you know, commerce.
Hmm.
Well, they will go out and they will sell the rabbits on the highways to
Hmm.
the passerbys, the travelers. So there were a lot of people that, you know, or chased rabbits and caught rabbits for necessity, whether it's to feed themselves or
Yeah.
to make money by selling the rabbits. Me personally, I went out to do it for sport before. I was a senior in high school. Well, no, I was a freshman in college actually, and I was home for the summer. And I had a job, a summertime job, basically driving around in the fields with the sugar factory, the sugar mill. Myself, Riedel Anthony, and we were just out in the field, kind of horse playing, seeing people chase rabbits while they were burning the cane fields. And we had a BB gun,
Hmm.
so during our break, we would just go out there and target practice. And we weren't pretty successful at all, but I can tell you, we did not get on the ground to chase a single rabbit. But I could be honest with you and say people do back in Belgrade. They certainly do because they burn the
Okay.
fields to produce sugar cane, and during the process of burning the fields, the rabbits they basically run to you, and they're not like jackrabbits. They're like
Mhm.
little muck rabbits or whatever, and that basically you can anybody can catch them.
Okay, so the myth and the legend is somewhat, somewhat true. It is a component to the
Yeah,
lifestyle down there, but did that necessarily make you guys who you are? Maybe not. But
correct.
so that's really cool for people to have a little more perspective on that. And
It's fun.
speaking of that,
It's also fun.
yeah, it's fun to have come from an area and have that legend and that attached to you guys in that area. So that is pretty cool because that's what everyone hears about the area. It's like, dang, them boys out there got lightning speed because they was chasing rabbits. But speaking around that time, like who put the football in your hands? Like when did you start playing football? Did you play other sports? And when did you start getting into it?
You know, I give all of the 9 year olds or kids that are younger, I'm the one that's going to give you hope because I was trash as as a young person.
me
I
me
wasn't good. I was scary.
me too.
I was the softest, maybe in the neighborhood, the most sensitive. I wouldn't say the softest because I was tough, but I was the most sensitive kid in the neighborhood. If you say boo, I'll probably start crying. And then I sort of over time developed this toughness and this not, you know, back down mentality. It was 1985, man. I was 9 years old. I remember watching the Chicago Bears. Beforehand, I had tried to go outside and play with the neighborhood kids, um, but I wasn't very good. I would go on the sideline, cry because I wasn't good enough. And then around 9, I kind of got into it a little bit. I became a fan of the Chicago Bears. That was the year they won the Super Bowl, the '85
Hmm.
Bears. Walter Payton, I just loved and admired the way he ran the ball, and I said I wanted to do that. Like I want the
Hmm.
ball in my hand. I was always fast. Maybe it was because I was running away from everybody that tried to fight me, uh, but I was pretty fast. And as time developed, you know, I just got tired of being the worst kid in the neighborhood. And I would just kind of go off on my own and challenge myself, whether it would be, and I've told this story before, you know, you walking down the sidewalk, there's gumdrops on the sidewalk, there's cracks in the sidewalk, and I would just walk and try not to step on those objects, whether it's the gumdrops, that's or the cracks in the sidewalk. And then
Hmm.
over time, I started running and doing it. And then I started just kind of maneuvering between obstacles. And then eventually I started setting up little cups and stuff and doing cut drills and quick feet drills just in the yard by myself. And I would just challenge myself with anything on our main street, which is about a 5 mile loop from my home around the town back in Belgrade back to my home.
Hmm.
I remember wanting to do it without stopping, wondering if I could do it without stopping. And I did it. And then I just started going off on my own while those guys would play. And I just went off on my own. And eventually I came back one summer. I was bigger than all of them, faster than all of them, tougher than stronger than all of them, and everything just kind of had developed from there, and I kind of found my way. And eventually, I just got better than every kid in my neighborhood. And
Mm-hmm.
I would always go back and say, God chose me. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a dream of making it to the NFL. Really never knew how good I was until about, my third or fourth year in the NFL. Like I just played to compete because
Mm-hmm.
I grew up competing and wanted to be the best. I never thought I was the best until my fourth year in the NFL or so. I realized, how much of my ability influenced the defenses. How
Mm-hmm.
much they had to game plan to stop me. I was like, wow, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, man, just wanting more, wanting to be the best player in the neighborhood is kind of how it all evolved.
Nah, that's you were birthed from competition, and I had a similar story. I grew up playing basketball, and I got into football really because my kind of forced into it. My brother played, and bro, I was terrible. I was really bad. I was a big kid,
Hmm.
so I had to play like 2 or 3 years up.
Hmm.
And those kids, they were just more mature, more
Yeah.
physical. I was hiding in the back of the line in the Oklahoma drills. I was, so we had something called a par player, which meant like they were required, since you're on the team, they were required to let you play a certain amount of snaps. So it was
Okay.
like in like a certain part of the game, the coach would put you in, like, oh, we gotta play him at least 8 plays, and then they like take you out. Like that was
Ah,
me. Like I
got a
was that
quota.
bad.
It's hard to believe it.
No,
Uh,
I was that bad. I just, like you said, it just, and then one day it just clicked. Like
right.
eighth grade, um, I remember I just like grabbed the kid by the jersey and like threw him on the ground. I was like, oh man, like this,
Like,
this is this all I gotta do.
right. No,
And
I'm with it. Totally
but yeah,
agree.
and then I just was, I was always a bigger kid, but I just kept growing,
Hmm.
like, and the few guys that were as big as me, like they stopped growing, and I just kept growing, kept growing,
Right.
kept growing, and then just got better and better. But yeah, man, it takes a little time. So for all the young kids out there, if you don't got it all figured out, um, you know, don't give up. You can keep going. You keep getting better. Like you said, two
Yeah.
guys right here talking like we were terrible when we were young,
Right.
and
Yeah. It's
so
you just gotta, compete, and there's no shortcuts, obviously. Competing is what gets you there and what pushes you over the hump all the
mhm,
time. I think just looking back on it all, I'm glad I didn't quit because I wanted to. I actually
mhm,
quit one year at Pop Warner. I was so bad the first year I quit and then go back the second year, but the coaches saw something in me where they even wanted to pay my fee, $60 to come back to the park league, but I turned it down. And one, I was somewhat afraid. I was a little
mhm,
scared and embarrassed by how the first year went. I remember my son Kelvin, and I know before we got started, we mentioned Kelvin being drafted
mhm.
to San Fran out there
Yeah,
along
we were
with you when you
teammates.
were out there.
Hmm.
The school that he played at in Glades Day was the Pop Warner field that we played on, and we played in a championship game. I played tight end and D tackle. Crazy. And I remember having maybe six targets. I dropped five of them, like just flat out brick hands, dropped them. And I remember the scoreboard 31-13. And every time I went to see Kelvin play, that same scoreboard is still right there. And this is 2013 through, no, this is actually 2010, 9, 10, 11, somewhere along those lines, those years, I mean. And I remember looking at that scoreboard. The only thing I can see is 31-13 and how bad of a game that I played. That was the bad part of it, but the good part was seeing Kelvin do his thing. So that's
Yeah.
my Pop Warner story, man.
Yeah, no, I quit too. I took a little hiatus. I was like, man, I'm just gonna go play basketball. And then my basketball coach convinced me to play again in eighth grade, and
Mhm.
that's when things changed a little bit for me. But so after that, high school, obviously you have a great career in high school, and then you decide to go to the University of Florida,
Mhm.
stay close to home, stay in the state of Florida. They had a little pre NIL to get you to go there?
Man, look, I wish Florida wasn't the school. There were a few schools that kind of, they wet my pockets a little bit because my pocket was dry. My pocket
Yeah.
was drier than those cane field after the burning. So, Florida actually played by the rules, man, which is crazy. I get that all the time. I
Yeah.
never, they never offered any money. I never met an agent during those times, even when it was the outlook was that I was probably going to be a guy to get drafted junior, senior year. Never was offered a handshake by
Yeah.
an agent or anything like that. Those things happen after the fact, honestly. But it's out there somewhere. Georgia paid me a ton of money when I was in high school. Think
Mm-hmm.
they ended up having to deal with the NCAA over it.
Mm-hmm.
And Also Michigan State was in there. They paid this guy that took care of us, when we
Mm-hmm.
were getting ready to come out of high school. But those places were kind of far. I did go on a visit to Georgia, myself along
Mm-hmm.
with 9 other guys on the same visiting trip. 10 guys from one high school on the same visiting trip was crazy.
Yeah.
And they all had the ability to be able to play D1. Some went
Yeah.
JUCO, some did go D1. But UF was the right decision. My best
Yeah.
decision. I always say it was my best decision outside of marrying my wife. That was up until then. That was my best decision I had ever made in my life. It changed me.
No, that's awesome. I had a similar experience. Oregon was not on that, like paying and none of that. Like I can honestly say like Oregon was not with none of that. Now I know there was some schools that I know I could have went to and they would have been on that,
Right.
specifically down south. Uh, but I ain't
Down south, like where
gonna.
I'm at down
Yeah,
south.
down south, and this whole little region,
Yeah,
they was they was on that. But no, I made a great decision too, and love my time in college. But
right.
you had an awesome college career. I heard that your nickname in college was the Shake. Is
Yeah,
that true?
yeah, that is.
How'd you get that nickname?
You know what? They used to call me Shakedown, man. I would, just try. I was more of a runner who would just kind of. I had the ability to shake and make you miss, and
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty elusive, and they just nicknamed me Shake, and it kind of faded away, I guess, after I started running past people and running over people. But they
Mm-hmm.
they they called me Shake coming out of high school, and then it kind of carried over to my days in UF. And being at a passing school at the time, I really did get an opportunity to show people how much of a runner I was because we were pass heavy in Coach Spurrier's systems. Not until my senior year after Danny Werfel had left, the year after he had won the Heisman, we had a young quarterback and Doug Johnson, and eventually Doug and Noah Brandeis eventually had to split times as the season progressed. So that year, I was able to show people, my true ability and talent, and because of that, timing allowed me to put together a good season on the ground. And the pro day, I didn't worry about the pro day. I knew I could run a 4.2 in my sleep, so that wasn't
Mm-hmm.
even a thought in my pro day. But I just need to put together a good season. I knew the pro day was going to be a breeze, and then that allowed me to be drafted ninth overall, right in the
Mm-hmm.
backyard and stay in Florida, right in Gainesville. So I, I,
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, Eric, I got the best of both worlds in my draft, ninth overall, right here at home in the state of
Yeah.
Florida, no state tax, an hour away from where I went to school, 4 hours
Yeah.
away from where I grew up. My people can drive up to the game, each and every home game, to watch me play. I don't have to spend money on flights, just hotel rooms. If more than my share of family members came up, but college was fun, man. I had some ups and downs and got in some
Yeah.
trouble and all that stupid stuff, but
Yeah.
college was a great experience.
Yes. Speaking of that, you get drafted here to the Jags, and that could kind of be seen as a pro or a con for some people, like being
Yeah.
so close to home. And but it sounds like you saw that more. It was a positive experience for you, staying at home.
Yeah, and again, I joke when I say I got the best deal in the draft, but in hindsight, just looking at all things. I come from a small hometown in Belgrade, 15,000 people. I went to college that's still a small town, but bigger than my hometown in Gainesville. I don't know the population, but the student population at the time was about 40, 45,000 students. Then you throw in the town, let's just call it around maybe 65, 70, I'm guessing. And then to
Mm-hmm.
go from there to Jacksonville, much bigger, but still small. It was a small country fields, big city in terms of mass, but still a smaller city. It's growing now. Uh, I do believe that the pros is God gave me what I can handle.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't put me places that were a bigger market that would have had more distractions, like a New York, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
even, even bigger market, a bigger city like Philly or Atlanta. He gave me what I can handle because your boy was wild. Like I was out, like I was outside. Even here in Miami, I like to party. I like to have fun. I have had a crew of guys that I allowed to go everywhere with me, and you saw me, you saw them, and vice versa. So, God did give me what I can handle, which was a smaller city, a smaller market like
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville. That's the pro. On the flip side, the cons were a smaller market,
Yeah.
where I didn't get the type of notoriety that a lot
Yeah.
of guys would get, or a lot of the branding opportunities that a lot of guys
Mm-hmm.
normally would get by just doing the bare minimum. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that part of it, I've come to learn that it's okay. I didn't help myself because I didn't understand how to play the game. When you get branding opportunities, marketing opportunities, you have to be present. You have to show up. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just say no and go hang
Yeah.
out in Miami. You have to go there and help yourself build your
Yeah.
brand. And those were some of the things I didn't do as a younger player. And in turn, and in hindsight, I wish I would have done more because it helps in everything else.
Yeah.
It helps with the Pro Bowl voting. It helps with just being visible. That
Yeah.
helps with other deals, and et cetera, et cetera. So,
Mm-hmm.
all in all, I'm happy I was drafted in Jacksonville because my legacy stands there.
Yeah. You're obviously you hold many franchise records in the Ring of Honor and one of the best players, if not the best player in franchise history, and so there's a lot to say about that, and being part of a young franchise where you get to build
Yeah.
the legacy and things that we're trying to continue, but also too, there's something I want to ask you too.
Hmm.
You're obviously a Hall of Fame player,
Thank you.
and you ask around the league, anyone, they know that, and everyone knows that, but it hasn't happened yet. And so I wanted to ask you, if you were in a different market, do you think that you would have already been in the Hall of Fame?
I believe there are some components to it that will allow me to say, yeah, um, in some capacity. I mean, I don't have, the keys to Canton.
Mm-hmm.
If it were up to me, I would have been in the Hall of Fame. But respectfully, I don't get a say in it now.
Mm-hmm.
I did have an opportunity when I played, but I didn't play for that. Not until the very end when I had realized I had an opportunity to achieve 10,000 yards. I didn't even know that was a stat line that existed.
Yeah.
But as I got closer, I really wanted to go make it happen. And, just looking back, I think if I had set a goal to play for the Hall of Fame, I would have not come out on the goal line as much. I would have
Mm-hmm.
took advantage of those touchdowns, and I would have certainly finished and retired with more than 66 rushing touchdowns. I would have
Mm-hmm.
played more snaps, and I probably would have took care of myself a bit differently. But again, that's hindsight, and who knows? But I do think
Mm-hmm.
that if I had played in a bigger market, New York, for example, maybe even Dallas, for example, Philly, then
Mm-hmm.
it would help. It would increase those odds
Mm-hmm.
that I would be in maybe by now. I mean, but
Mm-hmm.
again, I don't have control. I'm not a selector. I'm thankful that I've been in the finalist room. the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a semifinalist, I believe, 7 times, I think, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm thankful for the selectors to be in the conversation. That's where you want to be in the
Yep.
conversation. And again, I don't know. I don't know what the criterias are. I don't know what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to worry myself. Well, I don't worry myself about it. I don't even really think about it much unless someone else brings it up and wants
Yeah.
to have a conversation about it, as we are having today.
Yep.
Um, it's out of my control,
Yeah.
So
Well,
whenever
it
it
is. It,
happens, it'll happen.
yeah. It is a topic of discussion because I know so many people um, feel like you're deserving, and so it's always a I think a lot of people are upset and frustrated for you too, and
Yeah,
want to have the conversation and want to be happy and see that happen. And I think it's going to happen here soon, but it is something that is a topic of conversation,
yeah,
and with not just yourself. This we've had conversations, or it's been a topic, in the media, or conversations for different fan bases for other players as well too. Like, why haven't they got in yet? What's going on? And so I think people, are just waiting to see that day. But it is cool to hear and see kind of your perspective, kind of looking in hindsight of like the pros and cons of your career. And
right.
yeah, I think fans will gain a lot of insight into kind of your experience and how you view things. But
When
how
I hear guys like yourself, guys that I played against, all the defenders that are Hall of Famers, the guys that are offensive players that had an opportunity to see me play, when their defense was up, knowing how
Mhm,
good their defenses were, to be able to just comment on my career. Guys like the Randy Mosses of the world, Ray Lewis, um,
mhm,
John Lynch, the Ed Reeds of the world, Warren Sapp, Derek
mhm,
Brooks. When I hear, one of my favorite people, Marcus Allen, who fights for me every year in the conversation. When Jim Brown mentioned, that I was his favorite back and that he thought I was a Hall of Famer.
mhm,
Those things, my peers, guys
mhm.
that are currently playing that had a chance to catch my career or either have a chance to go on YouTube. And I know Channing and Ryan say I'm old as hell on the show, but I know YouTube is out there and some of the highlights are out there. You might have to try color and edit it to get it up to 4K standard, but that's that, right? Um, but it feels good knowing that
Mhm.
the people that I actually played against and competed against, how they feel about my career.
Yep.
That's I can leave the earth right now knowing that this is what they think of my game. I'm a Hall of Famer in their eyes. I believe that's what matters most. And for the selectors, respectfully, I say they will have an opportunity to solidify it. And I respect their job because it's not easy. You
Mhm.
have every year you have five guys, to give the nod to. And once you make the finalist room, the final 15, all of those guys are deserving. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a easy conversation, but you can't allow 15 to go in it. You have to narrow it down to five, and then you have to just wait to the following year and hope that it's your turn. So that's
Yep.
just how it goes.
Yeah, that's how it goes. And I know a lot of people are pulling for you, so it's gonna happen. Everyone's gonna be ecstatic and really excited and happy to see that and get another one in Duval. I know the fan base gonna be real happy about that. Um, but looking back at your career, it
Mhm.
wasn't all there was ups and downs. You faced a lot of adversity. I was doing a little research, um, and I think people remember all the good, but you faced a lot of adversities,
Yeah.
battling back from injuries and different ups and downs throughout your career. Talk to me about that experience of having to battle back from so much and go through so much adversity, throughout your careers and struggles and staying mentally strong and all that, because I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough. There's times where everything is going good and
Hmm.
it's just rolling, but that wasn't your experience. Your experience was having to battle and fight through a lot.
Yeah, obviously frustrating is the first thing that steps out. I was looking up stats this morning, just looking at Bijan Robinson, who I'm a huge fan of. I saw him post something about the top five youngest players that have the most yards from scrimmage to start their career, and I actually just went back to look at my numbers versus their numbers, and alongside that on Pro Football Reference, the site that I like to use for career stats or what have you, they have nicknames next to the
Mm-hmm.
player. And there on mine, the nickname is Fragile Fred. And I kind of got offended,
Mm-hmm.
when the average career is about 3 years, 3.2 or something like that.
Yep.
And I was able to play 13 years, uh,
Mm-hmm.
even through those injuries, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of frustrating, depressive type moments. But I'm still able to play four times longer than the average life. Like, well, I don't. I think it should be like Tough Taylor or something.
Yeah,
My
yeah, for
nickname
real.
shouldn't be that. But neither here
No.
nor there. That's just somebody else that has control of the site that has no control of, what was the outcome of my career. But I have to be honest, say it was frustrating. But I learned a lot. It made me a
Mm-hmm.
better person.
Mm-hmm.
It made me a better player. It taught me about preparation. It taught me about patience. It taught me how to be mentally tough, how to mentally refocus in a lot of ways. I worked with an amazing sports psychiatrist and Trevor
Mm-hmm.
Moad, who passed a few years ago. And, the message that now in Trevor's book, but we used to talk about it back then, was it takes what it takes. Whatever that is, you have to find a way to turn negatives into positives. When you're doing math and algebra, negative equal positive, you have to find a way to make any negative situation a positive. There's
Mm-hmm.
always a positive in every situation that doesn't go your way, or you have to actually create that positive to kind of
Mm-hmm.
put yourself in the moment, to give yourself an opportunity to move forward and not sort of sit and soak, and sort of weigh yourself down on what the bad thing that happened. Yeah, I didn't like the injuries. They were out of
Mm-hmm.
my control. That was just the way
Yeah.
I played the game. And I played fast, I played hard, I didn't run out of bounds. I went at you. And, in hindsight, parts of me would say, play smarter earlier on in my career. I didn't know how to.
Mm-hmm.
I learned as I grew to protect myself from further injuring myself, because I understood how much of a focal point I was to the team. So certain things I learned to know when to get down. I learned to maintenance, be in at 5:30, 6 in the morning. I was the first person in the building. I was there before the quarterbacks. I was always the
Mm-hmm.
first person in the building, one of the last ones out. I developed those habits over time, and that allowed me a window of 3 or 4 years where I didn't miss a single game.
Mm-hmm.
Just learning how to maintenance, take care of my body, learning nutrition, how to eat better, how to recover. And those things kind of shaped my career and allowed me to play 13 years. But again, in hindsight, I believe that God has a path for all of us. If I had not been injured, maybe would have had successful seasons, more successful seasons, where I don't know if I would have been in the Jaguars uniform. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I would have opted out of testing the free agent market if I had
Mm-hmm.
been healthy. Because my mindset was a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. So I didn't chase the money. I was happy with the contract extensions that the Jaguars had offered. I didn't want to go out or test, playing the season, risking injury and risking an opportunity to not set my family up for life. So a lot of the reason why I stayed a Jaguar is because I didn't want to go and test the free agent market. But again, in hindsight, the best thing that could happen for me, my family, my career, was not going after the big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Those injuries were supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
and I take the cards that God dealt me. It made me a tougher person. I'm much better mentally in terms of knowing how to handle adversity, knowing how to handle frustration. And I also share those things when I go on speaking engagements. I'm able to share that to businesses, their employees,
Mm-hmm.
by painting a picture of my career and how to overcome those things.
Mm-hmm.
And you can relate that to everyday life, business, and also for young players, guys that may be in your position or current players that may be struggling.
Yeah.
So it happened for a reason, and that's part of my story.
Nah, definitely everything happens for a reason, and God always has a plan. And I've had a lot of similar experiences to you in the NFL of injuries. I was on IR my second and third year, and I was getting called a bust and injury
Same here.
prone and
Yep.
injury prone and all these things. And then, I finally was healthy and was able to show what I could do. Didn't miss a game for 5 years. Turned into a fan favorite, and then, dealt with some injuries later on in my career, and people calling you fragile, and like you said, all these things, and dealing with the criticism of, living up to what people expect out of you, and so I think all those things are make you who you are. Like you said, it makes you a tougher person, a
Hmm.
more resilient person. Shoot, even my time here in Jacksonville, last year, um, there was tough times,
Right.
both individually and as a team. And I wasn't a fan favorite last year, but I didn't say very much. I just put my head down and keep going to work. And there's always going to be opportunity to change the narrative. And this season is much better times in changing that narrative of what the fan base feels about me and all those things. So I think going through all that, there's nothing like this NFL experience of being a player.
Hmm.
Um, I'm in year 11, and all these different seasons, experiences, and times, and things you have to deal with, I think make you who you are and make you a better person. And tough times don't last, tough people do. And I think playing, you played 13 years. I'm on year 11. I think I got about. I can make it to about 15. I think I got like four more left. I think I got like four more left in me. I'm feeling good. Um, and like I said, there's just going through all those different experiences makes you a real resilient person at the end of the day.
100%, totally
And
agree. But you got as many as you want. I
yeah.
played 13. I certainly could have turned out two more,
Hmm.
but just sometimes you go out there and you realize that you practice. I mean, you prepare so hard to put yourself in position to be competitive so you can be at your best. And then when the injuries happen, it can kind of weigh on you and bring you down a bit. And for me, I didn't want to go through that whole process all over again. My body was fine tuned. I can still get it done. I can still run. I had those capabilities. I
Yeah.
just didn't want to go through another season of working so hard in the off season, then getting injured and only playing 5 or 6 games. That
Hmm.
was sort of old news for me. So I decided to retire at lucky number 13. But I think just seeing where you are and just looking at, uh, your output, much like Calais Campbell, for
Hmm.
example, who the Jags thought, old management thought Calais was kind of, you know, sort of past his days, but big guy have put out another 5 or 6 years since
Yeah.
then or so. So, but yeah, it's totally up to you, brother.
Yeah.
And obviously I'll be rooting for you.
No, I appreciate that, and like I said, a lot of players can learn from our experiences, and that's why I try to be a message of keep going, bro. Like this league is just about keep going, staying down, and grinding, and the resilient ones in this are going to see success at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about your transition. No, we'll still keep it here at Jags.
Hmm.
You've been a part. of Jags media for quite some time now,
Hmm.
and so you've seen a lot of years of our teams, and you have a very good pulse of our teams, and how the directions we're headed, and different things throughout the years. You know, from looking at and being a part of the media here, comparing us now, looking at our team now and some of the playoff teams you've been on in the past. Um, yeah, give me your assessment, man. What do you feel about what we have going on and what we're building?
I think you guys are, pretty similar to our '07, our '07 team. I think what just looking at the performance yesterday, the Denver game, looking at the Denver
Hmm.
game, to be able to go in a hostile environment, against the odds, against people still not wondering how good you are as a team, and you answered all of those questions. When we went up to Pittsburgh, late December, very similar situation. We went up to Pittsburgh. We were 9-4. They were 9-4, and we went up there and we just out physicaled them, and we went on to make a nice little playoff run where we beat them again in a wild card game, and then we eventually played the undefeated Patriots and lost in the divisional round. But just looking at your this year's team, I'm sorry, looking at this year's Jaguars, the expectations weren't high. New coach,
Hmm.
new front office, some different things going on. Questions out whether Trevor is actually a franchise quarterback or not. Wondering what the defense was going to do. New defensive coordinator hire. Again, new head coach. There was a lot of questions to be
Hmm.
answered. Whereas some of the playoff teams, my first 2 years, Coach Coughlin, we were actually expected to do those things. You
Hmm.
guys weren't, and you've answered all the questions. You've proved all of the doubters wrong, and nobody cares more than the guys that are in that locker room. You guys know how to stick together, and you're not worrying so much about the outside noise as much as you might say. Our respect isn't there. I think that's just something you guys want to write on the board and use as a form of motivation, because you got to go out and get it each and every
Hmm.
week, regardless of what's been said on the outside. But your focus is laser sharp, and I commend all of you for it. But it's really hard to do a real comparison because each season change season to season.
Hmm.
With the level of success that you guys are having, the expectations will continue to increase week in, week out. I mentioned on the radio show this morning I did with the guys that the season's just beginning for you.
Yeah.
Every week the season's just beginning with what the playoff picture is shaping up to be, where Houston is, where Indy is, what can happen there, and also the other AFC teams. You control your own destiny, much like the other Jaguar teams of the past. So I enjoy watching y'all. Every week it's a surprise. Every week you guys have gotten better. You've overcome adversity each and every week. You're plugging and you're playing. It shows the depth. It shows the leadership. It shows how great the coaching staff has been in terms of preparing the guys that aren't starters, the backups,
Hmm.
because when the starters aren't out there due to missing or being inactive, guys are stepping up each and every week. So again, that's just a credit and a nod to the coaching staff, the players being prepared, everybody that's bought in to the new regime and Coach Cohen's leadership. So, I salute y'all for that, man. Keep it going.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and those are some good words for us. I say it every week. People ask me like, how do you not have a letdown? How do um, you're doing good. How do next week? You guys don't take it lightly. I'm like, we really haven't done nothing yet.
Right.
I've been a part of some really good teams in my past, and like you said, the season is really just getting started now. And um, the thing that I love the most about this though is, um, when I came here, I knew we had a good roster,
Hmm.
and I felt like I could be a piece to helping us get over that hump. And really, what I wanted most, like for the guys here, was that respect. Around the league, like it's different when you go to NFL events and you're around other players, in those
Yep.
circles, and it's like, oh, that's so and so. He plays for, yeah, like
Right.
you can hold your head high. And so when I came here, that's what I wanted for my teammates, because I've had that feeling before, and I've had that respect. Like when you walk into a room, it's like, I wanted us to be able to walk in a room like, oh, that's the Jags, like, and so I think that takes time though.
Hmm.
And that's why I say we haven't done none yet. That takes you dominating people for a long period of time, um, to where you really change that narrative of like, okay, like that team is for real. That group of guys, like you don't want to mess with them. They gonna bring the same thing week in and week out,
Hmm.
and that just is what it is. And like you really can't mess with them. And so I think we're on the cusp of doing that, but that takes time. We ain't done nothing yet. We still got a long way to go. Um, and I'm excited about this journey though, knowing that my teammates and everyone around are getting really excited about, changing that narrative and still having that chip on our shoulder though, and looking at our future in this position that we are in this part of our season, and controlling our own destiny. I
Hmm.
think is the main thing that you wanna have, is like to be in control. And we've done a great job, and guys are getting better at the right time.
Right.
We're hitting our stride at the right time, right part of the season, and so it's really exciting. And like I said, we got a lot more work to do, and a lot more things to accomplish. And guys still have that mindset too. So it's really good to see.
I second that. It's great to see,
Yeah.
especially being a Jaguar fan. We haven't had a whole ton to cheer about, but that's part of it. You have to, as a fan, also understand the process. They don't call them fanatics for nothing. You're gonna have those ups and lows and ebbs and flows.
Hmm.
But again, you have to maintain and you have to stay the course. But I love you guys' sense of urgency. I love how you've embraced the process, and the chips are going to fall as they do, and it's
Yep.
all up to each guy's own individual sense of urgency and preparation, and all of that stuff. So keep going, brother. Like I said, you guys always have had my full support and backing.
No, I really appreciate that. And before I let you go, I want to switch gears real quick.
You want to pivot? Just say it.
Yeah,
You want
yeah.
to pivot?
Well, I want to pivot. I want to pivot and talk about the pivot and some other things that you
Uh-oh.
have going on. First thing I want to ask is, the pivot and your media career has been extremely successful. And did you ever see like your post or second career, after playing football? Did you ever see that becoming more lucrative, or possibly even bigger than your football career?
I didn't, not at all. But I can tell you, over a 13-year career. Now I go back and I look at Sport Track, see how much I made over that amount of times, and I tell myself I want to match and make more than that.
Yeah,
I said
yeah.
that around the time I was retiring, and didn't always know how I would achieve it, but I do know that I have investments in place. My wife and I, we have a decent sized real estate portfolio, so we're landlords and all this different stuff. Some good investments, some bad ones, but that's part of the game. Um,
Hmm.
but it's steady, right? And it was around 2012. I retired 2011 officially. So around 2012, Dan Edwards, who's a former senior VP of media there in Jacksonville, uh, he came to me and said, "Fred, how would you like to do radio for the team?" I was like, "Oh, hell no." I'm not doing radio. No way. And he was like, nah, think about it for a couple weeks and let me know what you think. So we kind of went away, didn't think about it. A few days later, Dan called me back, like, get up to Jacksonville. I'm not taking no for an answer or what have you. So we eventually talked again. And basically, he kind of just simplified it for me. He said, you know the game of football. You're a student of the game. Basically, it's having a conversation at a bar with a total stranger. You're talking about a game. That's all you're doing. You're just talking about a game. On radio, you tell them what happened because they can't see it. So you explain what happened. And be honest. Don't beat the team up too bad because obviously you're a contractor for the
Yeah,
team, but be honest. Like you
yeah,
don't have to be biased. You can be honest. When the
yeah,
players know when they're bad is bad. You can call them
yeah.
out, but there's a way you could do that. And that's always
Hmm.
been my approach. I'm a very optimistic person. And I've been there in the trenches, so I get it.
Hmm.
We're due bad days, we're due good days. And when you're doing analyst work, TV, you tell them why because they can see it, but they might not always understand why. So you break down the why. And he simplified it for me, and we started radio. A little shaky at first, but eventually I got better over time. And then around the pandemic, uh, a former podcast host with another podcast. We were
Hmm.
neighbors. He kind of came around and said, "What do you think about doing a podcast?" Anything to get out the house was my mindset because we were
Yeah.
trapped by COVID inside, and we were able to go get a microphone, get some equipment, get some cameras, and shoot a podcast. The business part of it wasn't buttoned up, so we had to pivot and
Hmm.
created the pivot. And the pivot's going on 4 years actually.
Yep.
And the first thought process in developing the pivot was let's tighten up the business. We all
Yeah.
agreed to certain percentages of ownership, and the rest sort of just fell into place. The second part was having quality content and not being messy and not just being media driven for views. Let's
Yeah.
just respect our guests and the asset, and just go from there. And that's what we've been able to do these past 4 years, where I've still grown and I'm still growing in it all. But I love the space. I love that we're able to create and control narratives. I love that we're able to help a lot of people by being a
Hmm.
safe space, not just for our guests, but for people that we're obligated to do right by, and that's our community that's grown with us over the past 4 years. So we respect and we think about them and our approach to what we're building. And but no, I never thought that I would be a part of the Media One, and I never thought that I would have a successful platform to do the things that we're doing and to have the opportunities that we're having by simply having conversations.
Yep.
But this is the environment that we're in, and I think we have an obligation to be positive in this crazy. It's a lot of negativity, a lot of
Yeah.
negative energy in the world. So what we
Yeah.
try to do is pull together as much positive stuff as we can and sort of just
Yeah.
give it back and put that in the atmosphere. So
Hmm.
we've done well.
No, I think well, I'm a big fan, and I know probably everyone watching this are big fans and love what you guys love what you guys do and love what you guys have accomplished and creating that sense of community and breeding positivity. I think is the most important piece because we do live in a world where the negative stuff gets the clicks, the
Yep.
negative stuff sometimes is what sells, and for you guys to put positivity first and uplift people throughout um, you guys' journey and your show, I think it's been really refreshing
Mhm.
and been an awesome example of you don't always have to go down that negative line to be successful. And um, you guys have inspired a lot of people as well too.
Mhm.
Inspired myself to want to get in this space and have a say so of my own. Um, so I want to say we definitely appreciate you guys and what you guys are continuing to do. Um, and I know you guys have fans around the world, but from me, someone who's been inspired by you guys and a big fan, definitely want to say we appreciate you.
I know I appreciate it. And when we first started, I was like, oh, this is third and long. I get it. This is when he
Hmm.
go eat.
Yeah.
I love, I love the name of the
Yeah.
pod, man. And just keep it up, brother.
Yeah.
Because there's always good messages to get out there, and
Hmm.
we have as I don't even want to use the word influencer, but we are all in some capacity an influencer as a player, as someone who's sitting on the other side of this mic. We
Yeah.
know there are people that look up to us, so we have an obligation to try to help them shape their foundation so they can
Hmm.
be better human beings and eventually give that same love and thoughtfulness to the next human being, the next generation in line,
Yeah.
which is why I think both of us don't mind waking up and engaging in these sorts of conversations because there's
Yeah.
always something in the message.
Yep. One question I have, I think a lot of people have, how much editing do you have to do with Channing? Because that Channing is wild.
Yeah, excuse me. Channing is amazing. Like he doesn't mind being an antagonist, the contrarian, and it's not always on purpose. A lot of
Hmm.
times it's just who he is, and sometimes he wants to go the other way. Like for example, if we're debating, he doesn't mind being the a-hole in the room. That's just Channing.
Yeah.
But in terms of editing, we shoot. Let's say, for example, if we shoot 45 minutes or an hour, let's say if we shoot 60 minutes, we're going to have a 58-minute show
Yeah.
to give the fans. It's not much
Yeah.
editing that happens at all. I think the
Yeah.
only time you have to edit Channing is the first minute of the show sometimes,
Yeah.
where it takes away from your monetization ability if
Hmm.
there's a certain amount of cursing or certain things that are said early in the show, then YouTube will flag that. But
Okay.
um but for Channing, again, just a smart, very calculated, uh black and white person. Like there's no gray area. He's very
Hmm.
transparent. You either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
And some people don't like it, but some people love it because he's him and he's truthful and you
Yeah.
see what you get. But he's wild. Like
Yeah.
he's said some stuff that hadn't made the show
Yeah.
for a lot of reasons.
You
Uh,
gotta censor some stuff out.
yeah, we have to censor a few things
Yeah.
out, but Channing gives us that balance that we need because he goes here, RC
Yeah.
is always here, and I kind
Yeah.
of pull up,
Yeah.
wherever Channing goes, I sort of kind of try to reel it back so we can get back to the conversation. But you need those moments. If anything's gonna go viral, it's gonna be Channing.
Yeah. What's next for the pivot? Where do you guys have big picture, long term goals, or where do you guys see the show heading, or not just the show, but the brand and all you guys effort and work that you guys been putting in?
You know what? I don't know because we're right in the middle of some negotiations right now, so I don't know
Okay.
exactly how much I can share, but I
Yeah.
can guarantee you that the pivot will evolve.
Yeah. Okay.
So our platform will be our platform, but in terms of a media company, you'll see
Yeah.
an evolution there. And we have, I don't know if you've seen me take some sips here. We have our own
Oh.
energy drink, which is Pivot Performance Energy. We've
Okay.
we've we've we kind of launched this back in June, and steady growth, consistent growth, week
Hmm.
in week out in terms of sales and positioning uh, for an e-com company right now. But we're eventually gonna we have a distribution agreement. I'm sorry, in place where we'll be in a lot of local stores in certain markets starting February Q1 of 2026. So that's a good thing there. And we're just still trying to build a brand, man. Still trying to build and build a brand. Pivot coming out of the pandemic, we thought was the one thing that everybody had to do. Much like our mantra is it's never too late to pivot. And I think if everybody embrace that concept, they'll realize that it's never too late. Don't ever
Hmm.
give up. Even in the midst of lifing, there's always an opportunity to come out, on the positive end. So we just got to keep working, man. We got to keep working, but we have some good things in play.
Nah, that's awesome. Uh, that's great. That's great for me to see. I love being able to learn, and I'm gonna be picking your brain as I'm trying to build this show and learn from you guys as well too. But man, I want to say thank you again for joining the show, and it's been amazing to be here in Jacksonville. I knew you from afar,
Hmm.
um, before I came here, but to be able to learn about your legacy as a player and the impact you've had in this city and on these fans has been tremendous. And like I said, you're an inspiration for me, someone that I look up to and can learn from. So I appreciate you joining the show and having this conversation with me. And I know the fans and everyone watching are going to really love this episode as well.
So on the way out, Eric, man, just say you're an inspiration for me as well. I honestly say that. Congrats again on the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Certainly deserving.
Hmm.
Sweetness was the reason I fell in love with the game and everything that he stood for as a player and as a person. And I'm gonna pull up on y'all. I finally got my own code to the building, so
Okay.
you might look back and see me on the right or left side of you, man. But I'm gonna shoot you my
Okay.
contact here after we're done. I'll just shoot you
Okay.
the DM. I'll send it over as a
Okay.
message. But again, man, thank you for having me, and I appreciate chopping it up, man. And go Jags, baby.
Yeah. Go Jags, man.
Duval.
Duval.